G'day, it's Gus Walland here, host of Not an Overnight Success, a podcast series brought to you by our mates at Shaw and Partners Financial Services. Today's episode is with Lord Ian Botham, Sir Ian Botham, Beefy. He's been a great mate for a long time now and obviously one of the greatest all-rounders that the cricketing world has ever seen. So great talking to Beefy about all things about the choices that he had to be a soccer player or a football player or playing cricket. And of course his career was amazing, but what he did after that, you know, nearly 100 million Australian dollars towards charities and so forth. So to talk to him about that was great. I hope you enjoyed as much as I had the chance to talk to the big fella. Here it is, Sir Ian Botham, or Beefy.
Sir Ian Botham, it is such a pleasure as a friend to have you on the podcast at last, and welcome back to Australia, mate.
I'm pleased to be down here.
Beautiful. And you're in Melbourne, and I always tease you and say that Sydney's better than Melbourne, but Melbourne has a particular place in your heart, hasn't it?
Well, my first ever port of call here was in 1976, and it was to Melbourne. And I wasn't sure about Melbourne then, but then I suddenly worked out, hey, this is quite easy to get round. East, west, north, south. It suddenly cheered me up, and then I discovered the city of sport down Batman Avenue. And to be honest with you, over the years, it's just grown on me more and more. The heart of all sport, the best golf courses, you know, it's fantastic, all the way down through the peninsula. Great wine, great food, great people.
Why do you think you love Australia so much? Do you think a part of it is because we actually think the way you are as a person, the way you played the game is more Australian than English, so we had this attraction to you straight away?
Yeah, I think so. And I think also the first time I walked out of the MCG, when I worked out Australia to a degree, and I walked out and I played up to the crowd carrying the chain and ball and everything. And when you do that, and you give it this one every so often, there was 100,000 screaming Aussies wanting to rip the dart and hurl concrete at me. And I thought, I've cracked it now.
Well, we'll talk more about your love for Australia as the podcast goes on, but we want to hear, Beefy, more about sort of you as a young man. You know, where were you born? What was your family like?
Well, it comes as a shock to you. I sort of remember what happened yesterday. What happened 67 years ago, or coming up to 68 years ago, is my father was in the Navy and my mother was a dental nurse. My father was moving all the time. He just got out of Singapore during the Second World War. Very much a naval man, straight back up there, you know, quite a disciplinarian in his own way, but an excellent sportsman. So when we were about to be born, we were taken over to Cheshire. And you go to Cheshire, a little place called Heswall, and there's a guest house there, or maternity guest house, that they had the Navy used. I was born there, hence on my passport it says Heswall, Cheshire, although I've never lived there any time I can remember. But I think I was there 3 weeks before I got shipped back to Northern Ireland, where my father was serving. Then when he came out of the services, he went to Western Helicopters, which is in Yeovil, in Somerset. And it's a bit of a clever old bugger, because he used to, if things went wrong with helicopters, it was his job to sort of find out why. So, yeah, I was around helicopters from the earliest age I can remember. Used to sit on them while they were doing stuff. And so, yeah, and then really sport developed from there. It's the first time I had a golf club. It's about the longest memory would probably be that. My dad clubbed down for me, I think it was about 4 years old. But I can remember that because he said, no, you'll get a bit closer to the green so you can hit it on. And I said, no. And I always remember this. Still teed it up and I smacked it and it went over the green.
Oh.
So the old man, right, okay. So no, we had a lot of fun playing sport together. He went on to captain Western Helicopters, the cricket team. He was the second team captain. I used to go along with my little bag, and it didn't matter which side was short. You know, I would join in. I'd go and play or field or bowl, whatever. I was brought up in a sporting atmosphere. Both parents were very sporty, and it rubbed off. Amazingly, none of the other members of the family really got very much sporting background at all. So maybe the mum and dad just fed it all to me. It was, anyway, I appreciated that.
Yeah, it worked out okay for you. Brothers and sisters and other people that were in family or friends when you were growing up that you can remember that were important to you?
Not really, no, because I was away so much. Yeah, and I was off playing from a young age with my dad, off playing cricket or football. It didn't really matter what sport. I would go along with my dad and we had a great time. And to be honest with you, Gus, those are the days I remember clearest were from about 13 onwards when I got picked for Somerset under-15s, got 80 odd in debut and didn't really bowl much in those days because the selectors were a bit narrow. So you're either a batsman or a bowler,
Right.
or a wicket keeper. You're not allowed to be an all-rounder. And then at 15, I had to make a choice between soccer, as you call it over here, football, as we call it in the UK. And I was a first division side, Crystal Palace, that came and approached and saw my father and mother. And anyway, at the end of that conversation, long story short, I sat down with my father, Les, and I said, what do you reckon? And he said, before we go any further, he said, you're a much better cricketer than you are footballer. And I actually, for once in my life, listened to him, which was good. I enjoyed playing football. It was good fun. I played at Scunthorpe and Yeovil and captained England amateurs. So there's a bit of trivia for you.
Yeah.
We lost 1-0, so it wasn't too much to shout about. But yeah, sport was always part of my life, the main part of my life. Academic, I didn't really bother that because I worked out very quickly there's better to be a sportsman to actually have to go and work.
Yeah.
So school was a bit of a hindrance, actually, apart from the fact that I could go and play sport. So I represented the school, but I didn't really fancy doing much after that. So moved on.
Were you a good kid at school, even though you didn't particularly like the classroom? Like, were you that likeable rogue, or were you that I can't wait for both of them to nick off?
No. I think they quite enjoyed it because I was the outstanding sportsman in the school, so that gave me a bit of leeway. And so that was all very good fun. When you actually look back at it all, I was scoring runs when I was about 8 years old. Yeah, look at it. Sport has really been the whole of my life, to be honest. One way or another, playing, commentating, having to work with you, Gus.
Well, we love it. We love it when you're down here with us on air, as well as how you look after us off air as well. And
our morning walks.
I love our morning walks. And the thing I love about our morning walks, and for people listening to the podcast for the first time, Sir Ian is a part of the Triple M commentary team, and we meet every morning at the hotel and we go for a walk and we find a coffee and we just chat and stuff. I love that because I get you to myself a little bit, and I can just pester you with questions and stuff. And in the evening, I need to share you over a bottle of wine with everyone else. But what we love about you at Triple M is the fact that you are knighted. You are a sir. You're more than that now, aren't you? Have you gone past sir to something else?
Yeah, Lord.
You're Lord, right? So
no, I get enough stick as it is. You guys and everyone's sort of, hey, Lordy. Yeah, I know. Yeah, so I don't go. I'm not really that bothered about titles, but it's nice. Yes, a very nice position, and to also work for the government as a trade envoy over here. I've thoroughly enjoyed that. I didn't know quite what to expect. Suddenly, it worked out very quickly. It's knocking on that door and bringing UK and Australian businesses together, introduce and let them get on with it. A lot of good things are happening at the moment, which are exciting for Australia and the UK.
So as a youngster, you're talented, you get the choice, you decide on cricket and you take your dad's advice. You said you're scoring runs at the age of 8. At what stage did they allow you to be the all-rounder that you came? What stage did they go, this bloke can actually do it all?
Junior school, they started to realise that, and then up to secondary modern school. By that time, though, I was missing quite a bit of school because of playing cricket, so I was quite happy about that. Yeah. And then things are a bit different to what they are now. And then I left school just before my 16th birthday. So mutual agreement it was between the school and myself. But no, I was away so much then. I registered for Somerset, so I got sent to the Lord's ground staff because in those days, Somerset didn't have the finance to take me on. So they sent me up to Lords. I did a year and a half there, and then I was going back, and that's half year before I actually left. I was playing virtually every weekend, or midweek I was down in Somerset or wherever the second team were and what have you. So that was it. So about the age of 18, I was with the Somerset setup and made my debut in 76 for England in the one-dayer, and then tests started in 77.
So it happened relatively quickly. Did you have any moment when you decided to leave school and go professional cricket? Any fear of doing that? Was there a risk in your mind, or was it just so exciting?
No, mate, I couldn't get out there quick enough. Yes. I mean, today I'd have the Maserati set out there. Let's go. But no, I got to where I wanted, and I think when you set your stall out, and I feel for a lot of young sportsmen who get signed up by football clubs, soccer clubs in the UK, and they're 8, 9 years old, and then at 16 they turn around and say, which has been their whole life, and then at 16, 17 they say, sorry, you're not good enough. So I feel for those guys because they've given just as much as I did, if not more. A lot of them end up playing, but in the lower divisions. But that's not what you've got your mind and you've set your stall out and you want to play for whether it's Chelsea, Man United, whoever, and then suddenly the curtain's drawn. So I feel for those guys.
Did it come naturally to you, Beefy, the skills, or are you one of those people that you were naturally skillful, but you had to work very hard at it to get to the level you got to? What was your work ethic like in terms of that?
Well, we just played every day. It's just almost when I was on the Lord's ground stuff, we were playing, and weekends we were playing matches for the team. The MCC Young Pros was one team, and then there's also a thing called the Lord's Nippers. So we played. I don't know if those two things still continue, but we'd be in the nets. We had to bowl to the Middlesex players, the England players, anyone that came over for a net. So yeah, we just played and played. So you just got more and more confident. Good coaches. One particular, Harry Sharp, ex-Middlesex player, and actually scored for Middlesex in his later years. But he was a great source of encouragement. Then I had, of course, people down in Somerset who looked after me and encouraged. And also I had probably the best captain you could ever want as a youngster, and that was Brian Close, who's just kept... Well, Viv and I made our first-class debuts in 1974 together, playing against Lancashire, and Closey was captain. We had a lot of success early on, but he kept our feet firmly on the ground and made sure that we didn't get carried away with our own importance, which can easily happen. You see it all around the world, get themselves into trouble, etc., or just fade away, or don't lose the dedication. So we had a taskmaster and a very good one.
Viv Richards, you spoke about there, obviously one of the greatest of all time, and your friendship is still to this day a very strong one. What was it like when you first met Viv, and just having Viv in your life on and off the field? What's that been like for you?
Well, the first time we met was Somerset played an under-25 game, and Viv had been smashing. I'd heard about this lad from the Antigua who was smashing it all around in North Somerset leagues. I was going well in the south of Somerset, and then we got thrown together. I played for the seconds before that and what have you, but playing in this under-25 game, walked in the dressing room. I got there early. I was quite excited about meeting and seeing this guy. And he was already there, which I can tell you now, the two of us were never the first in the dressing room from that point on. We used to rock up as late as we could. But we were there, and he was sat in the corner, and I went over, put the kit next to him. I said, "You must be Viv." He said, "Yeah, you must be Ian." I said, "Yeah." Anyway, by the end of the game, it was Beefy and Snokey, so that was got rid of all that stuff. But he'd broken every record, and we won the toss, and he went out the bat, and he was bowled first ball. So that's sod's law. And I went out, I got runs, and then I bowled 5 others, I think it was, for 48.
Ooh.
And yeah, exactly. But your solid standard guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, and Viv came on and bowled what he calls off spin. I called it filth, but he actually came on and got 6 for 34, I think. So at the end of the game, he came to me and said, "Hey, Beefy man," he said, "You get the runs, I get the wickets." It didn't quite work out that way, but yeah. But that was the start of a friendship. I went over for his 70th birthday. He's godfather of my son. We'll be close until we both part. It's blood is thicker than water, and there's a lot of blood between those two. So,
yeah, I love that. Just knowing, the two characters, imagine how much fun you had through that time and the success you had at Somerset, which was a county that, hadn't had a lot of success before. You guys gave that to them. The fun of sort of going from one game to another. People don't realise how many games you played when you were playing county cricket, and getting on the motorway from, finishing one match and starting the next match the next day sort of stuff.
Well, you start, the championship game would start on the Saturday, and then the Sunday would be a Sunday league game. Now, we could be playing at Taunton, and the Sunday league game could be at Scarborough, which is, in those days, was a 5-hour drive. So we'd have to finish the game on the Saturday night. We'd all race up there, so we'd all have a couple of beers before the 2 o'clock start. So you'd get up there, have a couple of beers, try and get something to eat, which wasn't easy at that time of night. And not particularly healthy, but when you're hungry at that age. And then you turn around at the end of the game and drive back to play days 2 and 3. Then on a Wednesday, they used to have the one-day competitions. So the Benson Hedges as it was, the Nat West as it was, the John Player League as it was. All these games various one-day formats fitted in, and then we didn't really get any time off at all. Yeah, so, but I like that, and I think that was good because you develop your skills a lot better out there in the middle, and also you build your stamina. So, from a point of view of people go, "Oh, you bowled a lot of overs." Well, I did that all the time. So the body was. That's one of the things I don't think a lot of cricketers nowadays bowl enough in the middle. There's far too much net practice, and I hated. I was physically scared in the nets because I couldn't concentrate. Because someone had batting there, smacking it into the net. Someone this side, right. Bowlers all bowled from about 18 yards. They all want to pin you. I mean, I didn't see the point of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I didn't do very much at all in that department, but I would do the fielding, catching, slip fielding, and all that sort of stuff, and bowl. And I'd bowl out in the middle with the keeper, and just one stump, and run in a bowl there. That was, for me, that was much more important than standing in the net and getting barraged by bowlers who aren't normally very quick, but from 18, 16 yards, they're a bit quicker.
Of course, the other part of being an all-rounder is the fact of the catching and the fielding, and we had Steve Smith on the podcast not long ago, and he goes, mate, that's why I put so much time and effort into it. It's half the game.
It is.
And he said, I don't think we do enough of that, or people don't do enough of that. So that was a big part because you're an excellent catcher and an excellent fielder as well, weren't you? And that was you putting the time and effort in as well as the natural ability in the eye?
Yeah, but I think I enjoyed it. When I was with England, when Kenny Barrington was with us, we used to go out and always finish. We start the session with the catching, and we'd finish the session and the session. So we got a lot of it, but we made it a contest. So we were all there, and Kenny's job was to try and get it through us or make us drop it, but it hardened your hands up. So to me, it was just functional, and it was a way of doing it and enjoying it. Nets I didn't enjoy, but going out in the middle and batting, I wouldn't mind that with one bowler or two bowlers, and that no one else. And a couple of the old coaches would be out in the boundary just to roll it back to the bowlers. So it was that to me was much more beneficial.
You're playing for Somerset. You get to play for England one day as then Test cricket.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like, Beefy? And how did you find out the first time you were going to play for England? Is it a telegram back in the day? Is it a phone call? Does someone come and knock on the door at Somerset when you've played a game and tell you? What was that moment like for you?
Well, what happened is, and it hasn't changed that long ago, when we were going, say, to a Sunday league game, after the game, at 5 to 12, you found somewhere to pull in, turn the radio on, and it was announced at midday.
Oh.
This is the team to play Australia ahead of me in the third test.
Oh, so you heard it the same as everyone else?
Yeah, so Joe Bloggs on the high street knew exactly the same time as I. You're playing, by the way. I said, thanks, I've just heard it. Yeah, good. How are you, mate? Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, and that was the way it was done. So there was a lot of near pile-ups with guys stringing into full. But in the end, as the radios improved in cars, and in fact the cars didn't have them very often, you'd have to put the portable radio there, transistor.
Yeah.
And so you'd have to pull over to get tuned in or get it working. But as cars became more sophisticated, but you still found out that way.
Wow. Were you expecting to get picked when you did? Was it a shock? Was it something that you were looking forward to? What was that moment like for you?
Well, I actually thought I should have played the series before. I was playing a lot better than the guys who are currently in those positions, all-rounder positions. But with hindsight, which is a wonderful thing, they did play against the West Indies that summer, and it was very, very hot in the UK, and suited the Caribbean boys a lot more than the lads from Yorkshire or Durham or wherever. I think about it now, Michael Holding, all these guys, Andy Roberts, all of them steaming in, a baptism of fire. So I actually thought, well, when I sat back at the end of it, when I got from behind the settee and looked over to see what was going on in the game, hiding, but no, it was, I have to say it was maybe a blessing in disguise. I had plenty of the West Indies from that point on.
Yes.
But maybe not. But I broke it myself in Test cricket with the Australians. So.
And so you've got the three lions. That moment is happening. What was it like? Your incredible career, obviously captaincy, not captaincy, the all-rounder, all the stuff that went with it. How can you sort of sum up your time as an England cricketer?
Well, I would say I was fiercely competitive. Whoever we played against, wherever we played, I enjoyed playing all around the world. Fascinated me, India, from the very first time I went there. And I enjoyed going into near Nagpur, which if you look at the map of India, it's right there, slap bang in the middle. And I used to go and look for the tigers in the reserves and go and get some photographs. The Red Fort in Delhi, amazing place. Those guys nowadays don't do that. Yeah, they sit in their rooms and play whatever game on. So he's playing against someone across the corridor. I'm thinking, it's a bit bizarre, isn't it? For me, half the interest was to explore these places. Obviously, you were restricted in some areas, but that was part and parcel in those days, as you would be now. I enjoyed seeing the world that way. It was a great way. But at the end of the day, I think the thing is that when they put me in the ground, they put that gravestone up and go, I want words, which I think I've told you this anyway, Gus, but I had a saying throughout my career, and the saying was, you ride the torpedo to the end of the tube. And for me, everything that's happened, there's no point in looking back. You got to keep going forward. And you learn, you live from your mistakes, and you move on. To me, that was the way I played the game. There's no point in worrying about what had happened, and no point in gloating. That was always my motto.
It's quite extraordinary, your career, when you think of you as a player, but the man you've become since your playing days, not so much in the commentary box, but what you've done outside in terms of charity and so forth. And, you just can't get too far into this podcast without going there. What is the number now that you've actually raised?
It's got to be around 65, 75 million, somewhere in that bracket. It's always ongoing because we keep on doing golf days now. I had a chat with my surgeon after he'd put the fourth major operation in 4 years. He rebuilt my spine, then he did the right hip, the left hip, and I've got a brand new knee now. When I go through an airport, mate, the whole place knows I'm there. It's like a Christmas show. Thank God they brought these new machines in now. We go and stand like this, and you don't have to do all that. But, yeah. Look, at the end of the day, you wouldn't change it. The biggest part of the whole thing is that in the 19 walks that we did over a fair old span, and if you looked at the mileage and the training mileage, it probably equates to about London to Sydney direct.
Wow.
So we did it. The last ever walk I did was in Australia. We did that around the cities for the children with type 1 diabetes. When you see 4 kids who look perfectly normal die in 8 weeks, and then you want to get involved, and I had no idea what leukemia was, so that's how it all started. I wanted to do something. I told you the whole story. We'd be here for 2 hours, but at the end of the day, it's the best thing I ever did. It was a family affair. Kath, after the first couple of walks, she took over the organisation of it, which is a much harder job than walking, because you have to get councils, police. It takes about 12 to 18 months to organise each walk, particularly the ones when we followed Hannibal over the Alps with the elephants. That took a hell of a lot of organising. Yeah, we did 19 different parts of the world. John O'Groats Land's End a couple of times. Yeah, no, it was fun. Sri Lanka is probably the hardest one we did because they factored in the 35 degrees every day, but I forgot to factor the road heat. And so that was about 50 degrees. So you get it coming up, it's getting bounced off here, and you've got your protection here, but you have no protection there. And it was hard work. In fact, my manager, Rodney, as you know very well, he and his mate Dan came along to, so we'll come for the walk. They hired for the most of the walk this air-conditioned tuk-tuk, and they would go past me with a cold beer. How's it going, Beefy? Yeah, I won't tell you what I said to them. But no, that was seriously hot. But I love that country. It's a fantastic country. I'm only too pleased to go down and help. I actually, for Laureus, went down there a few weeks after the tsunami to see what we could do to help. And that was pretty horrendous. Yeah. So I always had a great affiliation with that country.
And Beefy, have you always sort of had that sort of big heart, or did that come sort of after your career that you could use your profile to be able to do such good?
Yeah, look, I mean, without, you need a springboard. And the springboard for me was cricket. Yeah, so that made it a lot easier for me to get the attention we needed. But having said that, you rely on the people. But don't forget, when we started doing those walks in the mid-'80s, that you couldn't pay online. You couldn't PayPal and all this or iPledge. There's none of that because It was physically, the buckets were collecting money physically.
Right.
And we collected over £1 million just in the buckets. And then the conglomerates back in the mid-80s, the conglomerates then made us charities of the year and all this kind of thing. So suddenly the money kept rolling in. That's why we kept doing it. Plus the fact that children, when they first started, had a 20% chance of survival. And when we finished just before COVID, they assessed it now, and we got news that it's now up to 94%. So that in itself has been magnificent. And what we've also achieved, or what the research centres which we built, and it's still it's bigger and better. But there's other forms of cancer that they've been able to help as well with their research. So, so it's a great feeling. I'm very proud of it, and the family are very proud of it, because Sarah took over after Kath to run it, and it's been very. I think we're all satisfied.
Yeah, when your head hits the pillow every night, just must be magnificent to think about that. And that's a really nice segue to your family, because you've mentioned the family all the way through. For you, in terms of your family now as a grandfather and so forth, that whole journey for you, what's that been like? Is that sort of your greatest accomplishment?
Yeah, without doubt. I mean, sport is sport. That's my job. So I don't count that. But I think, so I like the fact that we've given back something. But my doctor did say, if you ever do another walk, I am not going to repair you. So I'm allowed to go golf days, wine dinners, things like that. No more walking.
You're definitely very good at the golf and the wine days. So, it's best now for you just to concentrate on that. What about being a dad and being a granddad? My dad has always said to me he thinks he's going to be a better granddad than he was a dad, because he was so busy. He was always away. He was having a crack to try to set the world up. But he's got time now, so he can be granddad. What are your thoughts around that?
He's absolutely right, the old man, because I was away forever. The kids, I saw them. We were in a financial position where we could bring them over in those days, because we didn't get paid a great deal in the early days. Obviously, later on we did. But the kids actually have made me a bib, because they say you're always spilling. Especially Spag Bowl. Yeah. So they got that, and it's got greatest granddad ever. And I've got my own coffee cup, greatest granddad ever. So they let me know that I've achieved something now. So what Kath is dreading is when she becomes a great grandmother.
Oh, is that maybe around the corner? What's the story?
I don't think it's too far away.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I think Jimbo's getting married. James is getting married. Marnie's living in Melbourne now. Regan, his eldest, is probably coming back to Australia to work in the wine industry. So, yeah, quite fond of this part of the world.
And it goes both ways, and it's nice, I suppose, for you to have that, because I know last year the Boxing Day test, I think you had a granddaughter that was about to start working in a bar and so forth, and you're looking forward to seeing her in the evening. Yeah. That must be just awesome to have that type of relationship where you can be the other side of the world and you're with someone that you love nearly as more than anyone else.
But she actually, in fairness, she actually went there to make money, to earn some money initially, but then she now works for Myers.
Oh, right.
And she has been for about 6 months, and she enjoys it. They're doing a lot of film shoots and stuff like that, for whether it's sports equipment or anything that Myers sells.
Yeah, that's nice. That's lovely for you to have them with you, have her with you. What about the other part of cricket, obviously, is jumping into the commentary box. You did that for a long time.
23 years.
23 years. So, Beefy, was it hard for you to not sit on the fence, at least initially, of talking about players that you might have played with, or were you pretty much straight into it, paid to give an opinion?
No, I think everybody, when they first go into it, you tend to be on the player's side.
Yep.
But then it doesn't take long before you realise, hang on a minute, that was bloody awful shot you played, mate. I'm sorry, but it was. Or what kind of bowling is that? As you know, and that's the way it is now. You've got to. The punters want to hear the truth, not just sticking up for them. So I got that out of my system pretty quickly. No, I try and be constructive and also have a bit of fun. And I worked with some great guys at Sky, and I enjoy myself now in Triple M. The best thing about working for Triple M cricket is you go along, as we're dressed now, t-shirt, shorts, flip-flops, same accreditation, so I can go anywhere I want still. Yeah. And we enjoy it. We have fun.
Yeah, and I think that comes across the airwaves too.
Yeah, well, it should do. But no, it's great fun. It is great fun.
Absolutely. So for you, over all those years and stuff, was that just a natural progression for you to do that just to keep within the game? Because you're doing so much other stuff as well. Like, at what stage did you sort of go, look, I can't fit all this in, or you just managed to do it?
No, Sky was brilliant. I had 23 great years. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I worked, as I said, with some great people. Bob Willis, who's no longer with us, Warney, all these guys. And no, it's good fun. It was great. And also, when I first signed Gus, I said to Vic Wakeling, who ran it then in those days, and they groomed me from the year before to say, look, they sort of get me in to do an odd day here and an odd day there just to get the feel of it. Mm. But I sat down with Vic when we signed the contract, and he just said, I asked him one question. I said, where do you want to take the game to from the commentators? He said, well, from the commentators' point of view, I want the people at home, I'm sitting on their settee watching the cricket, feel they're there with you. So they're in the commentary box or on the field. And I think it happened pretty much. I think they achieved that as we went along. But it was natural. I had great people around me with experience. David Lloyd, Paul Allett, David Gower joined eventually. No, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I have to be honest. We had a great time.
The awards, the stuff that comes after, you get a gong before the knighthood, right? You get like a OBE or something. Yeah. Which is lovely. And is that something you go down and have a posh sort of occasion, or is that just sort of sent to you in the post and good on your brother? Or
No. You go down. No, you're awarded it, same as. And the knighthood, the Lord, became Lord or Baron, whichever, is the same thing. What I had to do there was go to the House of Lords and take an oath. So
that came after the knighthood, though. So OBE.
Yeah.
Beefy, what's it like when you get do you get a phone call? Do you get a letter saying, come down and we're about to knight you? Like, what's that like? It must be the most amazing, happy feeling.
Well, the knighthood, I got a letter through the letterbox, and it had the royal seal. So I thought, this is either very good news or very bad news. So anyway, opened it up, and you read the letter, and it's an invitation. And they say, very simply, would like to appoint you as a Knight of the Realm. And then you have a tick yes or tick no. Well, that was a no-brainer, wasn't it, for a start? So, we'll go straight to yes, miss out the rest. And then the hardest part about it was you're then told you can't sell anybody until it's announced whether it's the Queen, as it was the Queen's birthday list, as she was the reigning monarch. Now, of course, it would be the King, Charles. Mm. So I couldn't tell my mother, because I told my mother the whole world was known within 3 minutes. Jesus, there have been smoke signals going up, there have been telegrams. So that was a no-go. I obviously told Kath, and I told my two eldest children, and because I knew that those three would keep it under the hat.
How long did they have to keep the secret for?
About 8 weeks. Oh, long time.
Sure is.
And the speculation grows in the newspapers.
Right.
And I'm sitting there going, nah, nothing about it. I don't know what you're on about. And and I'm thinking, I'm not telling you.
Loose lips ships, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. The big day came and took my two grandsons, eldest grandsons at that time, which were Regan and James. And it was just a great day. You arrive, you're driven into the inner sanctum, in the square in the middle, which not many people see. And you go in there and you got taken up to the green room initially for my family. I got diverted to the blue room, or I think it was blue room, anyway, another room. And I was then told the protocol on how to receive the knighthood. Mm. And so I went through that, and I was second up. So the then Queen's private secretary was retiring. So he went first. He said, just follow me, watch me. I had a couple of practice runs. And I got it pretty much right. And you get called to the Queen, and she then anoints you very quickly, says, arise, Sir Ian, and then engaged in conversation. And she actually, the word, I'll never forget what she said to me. She said, well, Ian, congratulations, Sir Ian. She said, I'm not very fond of cricket. And I knew she didn't, because I'd met her on a few occasions. Mm. But she said, can you tell me about the charity work? So I told her a quick boom of charity. It was about 3 minutes, which seemed a long time.
Yeah, I bet.
And then the Queen shakes your hand, and then you walk out. So
Bit of a celebration after that? Everyone waiting for you to have a drink and something to eat?
we went Lords, MCC, who I fell out with all those years before, but we've kissed and made up since. But they laid on reception. I didn't know any of this.
Oh.
Right, the reception was laid on. There was about 300 people there.
Right.
All different walks of sport, all my mates, all my friends and families, and half the village where we lived came down.
Fantastic.
And it was a great day for them, and they laid it all on. And then scoreboard had, congratulations, Sir Ian, on the big scoreboard there. And they were taken around the dressing rooms, those that wanted to go and see it. Needless to say, I skipped that part. But they laid it all on. And then that evening, we came back, about 30 of us, and in the library, they did a special dinner for the close family. And so, yeah, it was a big day out. Big day.
That sounds an absolute ripper day. And have you become better with authority as you've aged over the years?
Yeah, I'm actually sometimes the author. I'm the man dishing out the orders now sometimes. But so I know not many people take much notice anyway. But but no, I think you understand perhaps the values of life a bit more as you get older, and how much more you can enjoy it. And I don't see any point in being a miserable so-and-so. So from my point of view, if you've got something to pass it on, do it with a smile. And it's not hard to be nice to people, just to say good day, or to kids sign an autograph. But mate, they don't do that much now. It's nearly always cameras, selfie. Yeah, which is in some ways it's easier. But everyone's got a phone. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's a journo now as well. That's the other thing.
Yeah, well, that's the flip side. Yeah.
Look, Sir Ian, our time is nearly up, so I just wanted to basically ask you the final 5 questions, which is our fast 5, and you've given one of them already. Your favourite quote, you've already mentioned it. Could you tell us again? That the quote that you live by, that people can.
Actually, I wouldn't use that one.
Okay.
Yes, I won't use that as my quote. But the one that I meant most to me was when I met Nelson Mandela in Monaco and Monaco, and it was the Laureate Sports for Good Foundation inaugural meeting. So you had 40 old fuddy-duddies, and Mr. Mandela did his speech, and at the end of it, he said, "Listen," to the audience. He said, "Remember one thing: sportsmen will break down more barriers than politicians will ever achieve." So that has stayed in my head, and he was so right. Anyway, I was lucky enough to spend some quality time with that great man.
Just, I have to ask you, we know what happened in '95 and how that country was united through that. What was it like to break some bread with a man like that?
Well, the thing that knocked me over most was that after 27 years of incarceration, he came out without an ounce of animosity. All he wanted to do was bring, and the groundswell was so much for him to come back, and he was probably the best politician, or certainly one of the best politicians they've ever had, because he united the country. He must be worried. If he was around now, he'd be very worried. But he's in his time, he was a remarkable man.
Yeah, no doubt. Favourite holiday destination for you, Sir Ian?
Queenstown, Arrowtown, fishing. In New Zealand, fishing and wine tasting and eating good food, and the walking and the golf. It has everything. Yeah, favourite.
Your perfect combination of all those things wrapped in a week.
And all wrapped within about 10 square miles. Awesome.
Happy days. Favourite book? Are you much of a reader?
Well, I can't say men only. No. My favourite book, what have I done? Actually, I have read some good books. I've enjoyed it. I read one of the books I enjoyed quite recently was Bob Willis's autobiography, because Bob and I are very, very close, as you know. And to read that was quite. He had such a forward-thinking brain when it came to cricket. The stuff that we're playing nowadays, he was talking about 25 years ago.
Right.
So I'd like that, or I would. Yeah, it would be a sporting novel, book of one form and another.
Yeah, autobiographies and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite movie?
Zulu.
Okay, tell us why.
I've watched Zulu every Christmas Day from about the age of whatever I was, and that's a religion now. So everyone just where's it on? And on this channel at 11 o'clock, yeah, and everyone has to sit through it with me.
Perfect.
But,
And then last one, very fortunate to have the support of Shaw and Partners Financial Services. Earl and Al, fantastic blokes. When you meet them, you'll just love them. They're just really genuine people who just want to make the world a better place, and they realise that they're very lucky and very successful, and they want to give back. So we're the only podcast in the world, Beefy, that gives guests 10,000 Aussie dollars to give away to a charity of their choice. So if you could tell us who you'd like to give the money to and what you think that charity will do with that 10 grand.
well, we've gone from leukemia research to a foundation, and I think the foundation would love that. We've got a couple of the charities to support. Would love that money. That kind of money would make a big difference to them. And one of the most horrendous of them all is a thing called Batten disease. There is no cure, and effectively children don't make it to their teens, and the body just suddenly starts shutting down. Eyesight, hearing, movement, speech, and it's a very short term, and there is no cure. And we'd like to I'd put that to Batten's disease when we get that. If that goes well with you guys.
Of course, 100%. It's totally your choice. And what we'll do is we'll get all those details and make sure they get that as soon as possible so they can start putting that money to good use.
Well, Rod, who's sitting there drinking coffee, doing nothing, I'll get him to send it, yeah.
Honestly, let's talk about Rod, your manager, just for a moment. I mean, talking about coattails, that bloke has jumped onto yours at a very young age and has been holding on ever since.
I think we first started looking after me was in the mid-90s. Yeah, and he had dark hair. He's now got grey hair. He's now got a few wrinkles, and I would think it's probably put that down to me.
Well, I bet you he wouldn't swap 1 minute of his time working with you, brother.
Do you know, I've worked with a lot of people over many, many years, agents or looking after you, and I can honestly say that I trust him with my life. So there's not many out there that I could say that about. It's a big pool with a lot of sharks, but he's got no teeth. He's all right.
He's a good egg. As you are, mate. Thanks so much for joining us on the podcast.
Happy days, mate.
Good on you, mate.
Well, there you go. Sir Ian Botham, or Lord Botham, Beefy Botham. What an absolute champion. His money's going to Beefy's charity foundation. Of course, it'll go to where all the other money has gone, over $100 million. What a legend. I hope you enjoyed it. Coming up next week, we've got another cracking guest. I hope you are there to enjoy it. Till next time, see you later.